Well, welcome back to NJ Today, and there's a new mayor in town in the township of West Orange. His name is Robert Parisi. Robert, welcome. It's been 4 months. Yeah. I see you like holding on for dear life there. Here's two of your constituents.
Hey, John, I got to give him credit for one thing. He's continuing your tradition. He's late.
He's late. That happens. It's because it's busy. You start off on time.
I just felt bad of keeping you waiting.
No. So far, he's really delved into it. He's working his butt off. Believe me when I tell you that.
You certainly are. And talk about it. What's the first 4 months been like all around?
You know what, John? I think it's been different than maybe previous generations in that the anxiety that people feel right now has translated into governing differently. So rather than setting off with a big, lofty agenda of high expectations, we wanted to go back to basics, and by that we mean communicating with the residents as often as we can in various forms to get back in touch with the public to hear what their thoughts are and what their expectations are.
Well, I not at the taxpayer's expense. I, as a resident, received a letter saying, hey, check this off. Tell me what you think. How can you get involved? How's that going?
I was surprised by the amount of input. Now we're going through them, but we've literally gotten hundreds of responses almost immediately, and a lot of, in addition to their interest in hearing about the town, a lot of useful comments that we're sorting through and reaching back to neighbors. Again, the hope was to get in touch with people and make sure that they're comfortable getting in touch with their government. We're a big town, but we like to say we're a big town with a small town feel, and we want people to know, like a small town feel, that their government's accessible. So whether it's been the focus groups, we're revamping the website, whether it's these letters, we're doing everything we can to make sure people are comfortable in reaching out to the local government and expressing their concerns.
Hey, Rob, what has been the impact of the cuts to West Orange in education in terms of class size and programs?
It's hard for me to say every day. I was taken back a little bit, and I shouldn't say taken back as much as surprised at back to school night when I realized my daughter has significant class sizes. Now, the teachers even spoke about it, and the teachers felt that some of the classes, they had kids in them that could deal with it. But my daughter's got several classes with 30 kids, which maybe not unheard of when we all went to school, but certainly over the last 20 years in what would be considered a preferred model of education. That's probably not preferred. At least thus far, it hasn't impacted, I felt, my daughter's education. She's doing very well. She's got great teachers. But at some point, that volume of class is going to have a negative impact, if not on my daughter, on one of the students there.
Hey, this is just speaking of your daughter, freshman at high school, cheerleader. Yeah. What's it like for your family? It's one thing you were councilman for 10 years, but a little different, especially as your children get older and your son Robert, and for Sheila, that matter, the First Lady of West Orange.
It's different. My son specifically has grown up with this. He was only 2 months old when I first got elected, and he takes it in stride. He's a pretty kind of laid-back kind of kid. But he's been bombarded with friends who want the skate park. So he comes. They all
lobbyist at home.
They all go to him. In fact, last night at dinner, he was like, Dad, again, these kids want to know when the skate park's getting built. So my daughter doesn't seem to be impacted by that as much. She gets a kick out of it, but for the most part, I think they handle it really well so far.
Hey, John, I must tell you this: when my son Chris was playing flag football, which he loved and I did, he was the referee, and his brother. And I got to tell you, it's the hardest job you could possibly have. Harder than being mayor, believe me. I tell you that.
I remember you even coming up after a game saying, "Why are you doing this?" I mean, the abuse we were taking was. He was like, "What are you crazy?"
It's never fun to be an umpire or a ref, that's for sure, especially around frenetic parents who are watching those.
Especially as an elected
frenetic.
official.
That's a Republican word. Frenetic parents. What are you talking about?
I was asked. Well, it's funny. I was asked recently to be a judge in an art contest, and I'm thinking, I don't want to be a mayor and be a judge and tell someone that they lose. I'm like, I'm going to pass on that.
You're smart. You're learning.
I'm going to be in that position.
Not good. Hey, I know part of what you're doing is and it goes to getting input from people, but you have focus groups happening all over town. How's that going? What are you hearing back? How are you?
So far the response has been great, but one of the things I thought was the best before we even sat down was the response of people to participate were not the usual people. Despite how big our town is, as a former mayor, that more often than not you're clued in with a couple hundred people. The people who volunteered for the focus group were people I didn't know, had never really heard from. So one of the goals of the focus group was just that, to hear from people who we don't hear from frequently. And I think from that perspective, it's been really beneficial. And the meetings themselves have been great in terms of not only getting new ideas, but getting a new energy. And as you can think back to when you first got elected, you need an energy from people to move things. And we're starting to get an energy from people who, although concerned about the world currently and concerned about government, they still have an energy and enthusiasm about our town, and that's what we're hoping to tie into.
Well, that's a great thing. Now, I kept the governor with us for a reason. You know, the two of you have been, you know, close affiliates, both as friends and
no, you wanted me Ed McMahon to Johnny Carson.
Yeah, that's it. We were laughing. Hi-oh, no one knows. Half of the audience doesn't know who Johnny Carson is anymore. But what examples do you take from Governor Cody as far as your leadership style?
Hopefully none.
One of the things, and even before I had an opportunity to kind of work with him on a closer basis, has been his ability to communicate with people who he knows don't agree with him. And given how divided the town was last May, and again, I don't think by any fault of our own, just the results of the economy and all the anxiety that comes along with that. So one of the first things we did and was to kind of think of his model and was reaching out to the other side. And a lot of the meetings we've been doing have been with people who I know don't agree with me philosophically and maybe have not supported me in the past, but I want them to feel comfortable that they can have a say in what's happening and that we might disagree with them, but that they don't have to feel alienated in any way from local government either. So I always thought, and maybe indicative of his success in Trenton, has been his ability to talk to people and communicate with people who don't agree and to get along with them. And I think that, given how divided not only the election results were, but just the feel in the town was important to the administration to reach out to all sides and make sure people feel comfortable to call and contact me. And again, even if we disagree, at least they know they have an opportunity to be heard.
I'll tell you, John, I think campaign he wore out 2 pairs of shoes. And of course, at that time, the campaign was rough. Taxes are too high, so it wasn't, oh, glad to sit here all the time. He knows that. No, I give him credit for it.
No, it's hard to go to a door and knowing that someone it's nothing personal to do with you, but is just frustrated like we are in the this time of our economic life.
It was frustrating, having been through it a number of times before. It was unlike any other campaign, so I tried to keep that in mind when we thought about what it is we're going to do for the first 6 months, and the goal was to reach out to a lot of those people again and hear what their thoughts on it were.
Hey, you're doing a little tweaking. You told the governor, hey, I asked you how many times to clean the ramps on 280, so guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do it. I'm going to send you the bill.
Yeah, I'm not expecting to get paid on that. But,
personally or for the town?
But I tell you, it was,
again, a great idea,
it goes back to what I said earlier, the idea of getting back to basics. We don't have the money to build new parks and build new facilities, but we can at least get back to the basics of making sure our public properties are neat and clean. And one of the first things we did was we toured all our parks and we worked on improving some of the maintenance issues. And the other thing that has come up over the years was the ramps. We're not like a small town that has 1 or 2 ramps. We have 17 on and off ramps in the community. So it's hard to drive anywhere without being struck by that. So we wanted to get them cleaned. We were working with the state since early July, and eventually they admitted that it was unlikely they were going to get to it until December, if not, weather permitting, not later than that. So rather than waiting, it was important to the residents and it was important to the administration that we present a proper and neat and clean view of ourselves.
Well, my view is that if they don't send you the check, the next time you close them down at rush hour to get everybody's attention, and that's when you do the cleaning.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if we want to do that.
I'm not sure, but there is some logistics in closing ramps. So we've been working with the regulations that DOT has, and our police department and public works are going to make sure we follow those regulations. But we are going to get them all cleaned, and we'll hope the state will be more supportive in ongoing maintenance in the next coming years.
Well, Mayor, you certainly have your work cut out for you, like all mayors and superintendents do throughout the state in these extraordinary times. I know personally that you're going to be up to the task, and you're the leader of a really great place. So continued good luck, and if you continue to do the great job you are, Kelly will be there to vote for your re-election in 4 years from now.
Yeah, thank you.
And Governor, thank you. It's always fun to be together and to get your insight.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sitting here between former mayors and mayor, and I'm out of place. I mean, come on.
You're never out of place. You know you're number one with us, and thanks again. And I know you'll be back to see us. And in a moment, we're going to switch from the public life to one that's bigger, broader than that. Someone from West Orange, originally, who has made it big time in the entertainment industry. So stay with us, and you're going to love Dominic Scaglione. Swear to God.